Well, good morning. Welcome to a brand new month, a brand new day. It is good to see you here today. We are excited this morning to welcome our brand new settled minister, Pastor Joshua. My name is Leanne Hart. I will serve as your worship associate for today. We represent progressive religious thought here in the South Bay. We welcome people of all creeds, races, sexual orientations, and gender identities. We gather here in this sacred space on the ancestral lands of the Tongva people. We strive to be better stewards of the land that we are honored to inhabit. If you are here for the first time, please know we have religious exploration for school-aged children and childcare for the preschoolers. Okay, I have a few announcements. First of all, I would like you to know that there is a scammer sending out notifications asking for money in the name of Pastor Joshua. Anybody receive any of the text? Text, okay. So hopefully you did not interact, but we've shut it down now. Unfortunately, this has happened with all of our ministers, so it's a greeting for Joshua. Okay. Some of the activities this week that are coming up, all of these things are happening this next week. Kiki Wiley offers a free yoga class with sound bath here in the sanctuary tomorrow morning, even though it's a holiday, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Chair or mat, you don't have to be skilled to join Kiki. She loves to have everyone come in. Seekers is a group that meets every first and third Wednesday from 10 to 11:30 in the library. At Seekers, there will be a guided discussion on various spiritual and psychological issues. Spirit of Life Choir is now back in session. They started up, yay choir. They started up after their summer break, and they invite other people to join. If you're thinking about wanting to come and sing at the church, talk to Severin about it. They meet Wednesday at 6 here in the sanctuary. And one more activity is the men's group, which meets at Mimi's Cafe in Torrance every first Saturday of the month. That's this Saturday, September 7th, 9 a.m. They have a rich and wide-ranging conversation with topics from philosophy to space exploration. See Gary Hart or Dale Osborne for information. And remember to check our website and our newsletter for more information about our activities. Okay, as I mentioned, today is a special day. Today, Sunday, September 1st, 2024, we welcome our new settled minister, Pastor Joshua Berg. After a lengthy and thoughtful ministerial search process, Pacific Unitarian has come to a joyful and serious decision to welcome and embrace this person whom we have chosen to lead and serve this congregation. Pastor Joshua, we covenant to do our part to treat you with respect, patience, and a welcoming spirit. We need to show up ready to listen. This means take a few minutes and center ourselves, and then allow our new pastor his time. We don't know what he will say, even if we think we do. Let us take a moment right now to remember PUC's covenant. I will say the first sentence, and then you can say it after me. Okay. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Blessed be, and may it be so. Thank you. Okay, chalice lighting. These words from Deborah Burrell. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries from today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome, and the welcome you've been giving me since we first met. I have to express my gratitude with my actions. There's so much gratitude, and I'm going to try my best to express it, over the course of years together with you, because I really am grateful. But I want to jump right into the work. And so my opening words are going to relate to Labor Day and what that means. And they are from Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, who is an author and who is an abolitionist and a lecturer and a teacher and a Unitarian ancestor. And she wrote, "We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul." And with that, I'm going to do a little introduction to our opening hymn. It's a special hymn, again chosen for the theme of Labor Day. It's called "As We Come Marching." And this opening hymn pays homage to what was called the Lawrence Textile Strike, also known as the Bread and Roses Strike. And it was a strike of immigrant workers in Lawrence, Massachusetts in 1912. And it was international. It was led by the Industrial Workers of the World, it was called, the IWW. And the phrase bread and roses from the Bread and Roses strike was popularized by, coincidentally, Rose Schneiderman, but that's not why it's bread and roses. She was a socialist and a feminist and a union organizer, and it refers to the notion that a political movement whose demand is mere subsistence suffers from a poverty of the imagination. Schneiderman demanded that the worker must have bread, but she must have roses too. And with that, please rise in body and spirit as you are able for our first hymn, number 109, "As We Come Marching."
I was asked to sing this before people knew I was a labor studies major in college. As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, on the
Darkened kitchens and 1,000 workshops gray are touched with all the radiance that a sudden night's glow For the people hear us singing, roses, bread and roses.
As
We come marching, marching, we battle to for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give no roses. As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead, go crying through our singing their ancient song of bread. Small art and love and beauty, their judging spirits knew. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we come marching, marching, we bring the greater days. The rising of the women means the rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler, and the toil where rosy closes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses. Thank you. And Kara's going to come up for our Time for All Ages, but before she does, I'd just like to congratulate her and Sam from the congregation on their wedding. One of our joys. Congratulations.
I would like to welcome any children who would like to come down. Anyone want to sit down there? Oh, here. I have a story today to read to you, and it's called Viva's Voice. Since the day she was born, Viva's voice had been the mightiest in the room. It boomed like an earthquake. It shook the slide on the playground, but it was especially loud at home, always overpowering Poppy's quiet voice. Poppy's voice was quiet, but his job was loud. Poppy drove buses, very big, very loud buses. 2 buses actually connected to make one giant snake, swerving and curling through the town. Viva loved riding around town with Poppy on his bus, greeting passengers along the way. Hola, she would yell as they got on the bus, and hasta luego as they climbed off. The sounds of the cars, honk, honk, the bus doors opening and closing, whoosh, thud. All of it was music to Viva's ears. And the tacos, quesadillas, and hot chocolate they stopped for were music to Viva's tummy. Today was Viva's first day of summer break, and she couldn't wait to spend the day with Poppy. Poppy, I'm ready to go to work with you today, Viva shouted, jumping up and down. Mija, not today, Poppy murmured. Viva, please, don't bother Poppy today, said Mommy. But why? I'm on strike and not sure when I'll go back to driving buses, Poppy said softly. What's a strike? Asked Viva, raising her eyebrow and wrinkling her nose. I'm a part of a group of people called a union, Poppy explained. Unions help workers get treated fairly. The bus drivers want more pay and better benefits. We have decided to stop working and go on strike until we get the things we asked for. What do you do on strike? Viva wondered. We go to the offices where our bosses work and hold up signs and chant. That's what's called a picket line. We let everyone know what we want. One voice alone may not be heard, but lots of voices together make a big noise. Poppy, I can strike, Viva exclaimed. I know how to make lots of noise. Oh, I know you do, Viva, but this isn't a place for little kids, Poppy said. Viva hated to be told she couldn't do something because she was little. Por favor, Poppy, I promise to listen to you and be quiet. Please, implored Viva. Remember, I'm working early today, added Mommy. Well, Poppy said, I guess that means you're coming with me. The picket line was magical. Signs bounced up and down, bright blue and red. Cars passed by honking their horns. A woman with a bullhorn chanted questions, and everyone in the crowd responded. It was music to Viva's ears. Viva learned the responses quickly and delighted in shouting along with everyone else. She was sure today was the very best first day of summer break ever, until she looked at Poppy. What's wrong, Poppy? Asked Viva, seeing his furrowed forehead. I have to go on stage and make a speech in front of all these people, he admitted in his quiet voice. He didn't talk much, and he definitely didn't like to yell. Even when Viva did something wrong, Poppy never raised his voice. Poppy, I'll go up with you, Viva offered, squeezing his hand. Poppy let out a long, deep exhale, forehead flat. With Viva nearby, Poppy found the courage to belt out his speech. The crowd's chants got louder and louder. Everyone was cheering them on. Poppy put Viva on his shoulders and handed her the bullhorn. Si puede, si se puede, she shouted to the cheering crowd. On the drive home, Viva honked Poppy's horn. The faint chants of the workers on the picket line echoed in her ears. Viva, your voice made me brave today. I wouldn't have had the courage to give that speech without you, Poppy said. Viva smiled. Poppy's words were music to her ears. Yes.
Sing out the kids. Yeah, just push at the bottom. The time has come to light candles of joy and sorrow. Please come forward to receive a candle if you would like to share a brief personal joy or sorrow, or light a candle in silence. A joy shared is multiplied, a sorrow divided.
I just want to thank all the workers who work for us here and everywhere else. The flowers are in honor of them today. Jose, Cara, Joshua, Gabby, and everybody else who works. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to all who deserve congratulations, and may healing be quick and full for all those who need healing. You know, sometimes it's difficult to express out loud our joys and sorrows, so this candle is for all those that remain unspoken and in our hearts. Let's take a moment to relax. I'm going to read, is this too close to me? I'm going to read a poem slowly and allow you to absorb it while you sit and relax and just sort of take in the images of the poem. It's called The Seedling, and it's by Paul Laurence Dunbar, who was, I believe, the first African-American poet published in this country. He lived 1872 to 1906. It's called The Seedling. All right. Relax into your bodies, feet on the floor. As a quiet little seedling lay within its darksome bed, to itself it fell a-talking, and this is what it said. I am not so very robust, but I'll do the best I can. And the seedling, from that moment, its work of life began. So it pushed a little leaflet up into the light of day to examine the surroundings and show the rest the way. The leaflet liked the prospect, so it called its brother stem. Then 2 other leaflets heard it and quickly followed them. To be sure, the haste and hurry made the seedling sweat and pant. But almost before it knew it, it found itself a plant. The sunshine poured upon it, and the clouds, they gave a shower, and the little plant kept growing till it found itself a flower. Little folks, be like the seedling. Always do the best you can. Every child must share life's labor just as well as every man and every person. And the sun and showers will help you through the lonesome, struggling hours till you raise to light and beauty virtue's fair, unfading flowers. See those flowers poking through the ground, reaching up to the sky, multiplying beautifully. Imagine all the flowers, creating a beautiful, bright, colorful garden. That's how the world should be flourishing, if we nourish it properly. Okay, I'm going to do a quick reading now. By the way, there's a few flowers out there, naked ladies, I was told they're called. There's only like a few of them out there on the side of the building, and you might want to catch them. They're very beautiful because I think they're at the end of their cycle is what I was told. So they're sort of falling down and they're going to fall off, but take a look if you get the chance. This reading is an excerpt from an essay called Self-Made Man. It was a lecture given by Frederick Douglass. And I'm reading it as I read Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem in its original form, so it is gendered. Frederick Douglass wrote, "Properly speaking, there are in the world no such men as self-made men. The term implies an individual independence of the past and present, which can never exist. Our best and our most valued acquisitions have been obtained either from our contemporaries or from those who have preceded us in the field of thought and discovery. We have all of us, either begged, borrowed, or stolen. We have reaped where others have sown, and that which others have strewn, we have gathered. It must in truth be said, though it may not accord well with self-conscious individuality and self-conceit, that no possible native force of character and no depth of wealth and originality can lift a man into absolute independence of his fellow men. And no generation of men can be independent of the previous generation. The brotherhood and interdependence of mankind are guarded and defended at all points. I believe in individuality," he wrote, "but individuals are to the mass like waves to the ocean. The highest order of genius is as dependent as is the lowest. It, like the loftiest waves of the sea, derives its power and greatness from the grandeur and vastness of the ocean of which it forms a part. We differ as the waves, but are one as the sea." In the future, just think about it. I'd love for some other voices to come up and do some of the readings. Let's talk about it too. Centering hymn is our next hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life. And this one we stay seated, right? Yes. Yeah, we stay seated for this one. Spirit of life, come unto me. Number 123. In our hearts, all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Awesome. So you're probably wondering what the heck Scooby-Doo and Batman are doing on the program. Excuse my language. So here in Southern California, as many of us know, the average working person has to hold down numerous jobs in order to survive, let alone to thrive. It's a fact. And one of my previous make up the rest of the rent jobs that I've had over my time, and I've had many, was as an entertainer at children's birthday parties. Yep. As I like to say, I was a CEO, a clown entertainment officer. Dressed up in costumes and folded balloons and did magic. I did, I think, over 600 birthday parties over the course of 5 years in order to for one particular party, I was contracted to play Scooby-Doo. I wore different costumes. I remember, I'm just going to get something to drink, yeah. I'll bring some pictures sometime. It was, yeah, but this was Scooby-Doo. And this costume, like many of them that I wore for hours and hours on end, had a core to the costume, if you can call it that, that can best be described as like a medieval torture chamber to hold it together. And it was made from some sort of itchy, sticky material that was the cheapest and that, of course, held in the most heat. And my boss at the time tried to excuse this costume by saying, well, no, you see, you're getting a workout and a sauna at the same time without the cost of a gym. And it's true, I lost tons of weight when I didn't pass out. So to give you an idea of what it was like wearing one of those costumes, do we have, oh, we don't have the screen, okay. Anyway, I'll show you later. I had an Easter Bunny costume that I was gonna show you. It was interesting, I did an Easter Bunny party at the house of a songwriter called Babyface. Some of you may know him. Yeah. And so Heidi Klum was there, and she sat on my lap on the swing. That's the picture of the Easter Bunny. And later on, that picture got like tens of thousands of views. So I am actually responsible for Heidi Klum's social media presence. Because I'm sure it got the views because of the Easter Bunny, not because of Heidi Klum. I'll show you later. So, let's see. Okay. So that Scooby-Doo party. The Scooby-Doo party was for a famous actor's daughter. I did a lot of parties for all different people. And this famous actor insisted on holding the party in a small room packed wall to wall with children. And my boss advised him that Scooby-Doo would need some space to perform. But this host liked to get his way, and he did not take that recommendation to heart. So arriving at this snot-covered shoulder-to-shoulder party, my first thought was, ruh-roh. Scooby-Doo. I realized there was barely room for me to enter in the costume, let alone play any games with these kids. The costume is also without any peripheral vision. And for that matter, it has barely any straight-ahead vision. So if you like put your hands like this, like you can't see anything, you can start to imagine what it was like. Now imagine corralling 100 sugared up kids with this amount of vision. It was a challenge. And finally, my screaming in the costume, because it was muffled by the costume, so you had to scream, it barely penetrated the overwhelming din of all of these partygoers. Now this host should have sympathized with the issues of a cumbersome costume, because it was Christian Bale, Batman. I made some feeble attempts at that point at gathering those kids for some magic tricks. I tried to do that. When that didn't work, I turned up my boombox to as high as it would go while shouting a song or two at the top of my lungs. That didn't work. Nothing was working. But I'm a professional, and I would not give up. They were children of famous people, so I considered they were likely accustomed to autograph signing. And plus, these kids were big Scooby-Doo fans. So I pulled out Scooby-Doo coloring pages and some crayons and just sat down to sign autographs for these kids. They loved it. They lined up. Tia Carrera's daughter was there. Mark Wahlberg's brood was there. All the rest. And they could care less about their parents' celebrity and their parents' signatures. But Scooby-Doo, he was famous. So I was a hit. As I thought about an example that I could use to illustrate and to encapsulate the state of labor relations over time, and even now in America, for some reason this experience was the first thing that came to my mind. Christian Bale is wealthy, and he's got a certain amount of power. And I guarantee he would complain about his own working conditions. In fact, I know for a fact that He almost quit because of the unbelievable claustrophobia of that bat suit. Yeah, no kidding. He has the luxury of quitting, as I would assume, and not losing his livelihood. He's okay, I think. And I'm sure he demanded for that part more than fair pay, which he more than received. And he was not concerning himself that day of the party with the conditions of my support job. He wanted all the kids in the room. He didn't care if Scooby-Doo had room or anything like that to play. It wasn't the first thing on his mind. I'm not saying this to, debase Christian Bale. It's just, it wasn't the first thing on his mind, let alone what I was getting paid. I made about $200 for that gig. Calculating, 20 million, conservative estimate for what Bale likely made with salary bonuses and back-end cut for Batman. At 5 days a week, 2 months of filming, let's say, a conservative estimate of the time Bale worked, let alone actually spent in the Batsuit, puts him at about $12,500 an hour, a little more than my 200. And I'm also sure he was able to take breaks as he needed with the suit off. And he was probably waited on hand and foot for his every need. I, on the other hand, went the entire stretch in the costume, and I didn't even get a tip. And I know he's British, and they don't have a tipping culture. Once again, not defamatory. I'm not saying any of this to defame Bale. He does that well enough on his own. And honestly, I'll be honest, he really did seem like a nice guy. He did. I'm also not saying this to complain. I was lucky to have this job to be able to support my kids. And I'm telling this story to illustrate something on a micro level. Illustrate the value assigned to what is considered menial labor. And more critically, the value of those people who do that labor. An argument is often made that the value of labor is directly related to a short-term monetary return. It's more valuable if it makes more money, at least in the short term. The more revenue it generates, the more it's worth. And if that is its sole value, then a stockbroker's single financial transaction can be considered more valuable than an entire year of classroom work by a teacher, the long-term value of which is, of course, incalculable. An argument is often made that the value of work relates directly to the skill level required. The more skill required, the more you get paid. I've worked in banking and in retail, and just because the numbers in banking are often larger, closing the store at the end of the day, closing the register at a Gap at the end of the day in a mall at Christmas time takes some serious accounting skill. Yes, there is a benefit that should be recognized and rewarded for work that brings in more return. Absolutely. And for work that takes more skill and that takes time and hard work to acquire that skill. Absolutely. There should be a benefit to that. There is a value to that. And yes, some jobs require more of both of these things. However, I argue that over and above the financial return and the skill level, the main consideration for the value of labor is what it contributes in the short and the long term to supporting society, combined with a recognition of the worth of the humanity of the person providing that support. As a party performer, I was supporting families during important life events. I was entrusted with entertaining humanity's most valuable members, children. We're all valuable, but they're pretty valuable. I was allowing parents to relax. I was giving them a break from parenting, the hardest job ever. And not to mention the work I was doing, one of the hardest jobs ever. Not to mention the work I was doing was necessary for the survival and thriving of my own family. There's value to all that. How many parents there considered my value as a father, as a husband, as a human being, as they drank wine and ate pizza and smoked pot? And I nearly passed out, dehydrated, and exhausted. I'm sure many of them did. It may not have been at the fore of many of their minds. It's just an example of labor that we may take for granted. So what is the value of the CEO of Disney compared to my neighbor in New York who was paid so little as a police officer that he was forced to take another job as an overnight grocery store manager just to survive, on top of dealing with assumptions and prejudices because he was Latinx? What is the value of a university president compared to high school teachers who spend their own money on supplies and work overtime at home without pay in order to make sure children, including those children of CEOs and university presidents, are educated enough to compete in society? I'm not pretending to be an economist or even have the ability to make a calculated comparison. I do know, however, that the support provided by the greater labor force and the value of the people laboring is, in our society, unfortunately, greatly undervalued. Every individual's worth as a human being is deserving of, at the very least, remuneration for labor enough to survive and thrive. Things like immigration status or race identity are not determining factors in the value of that person and of that labor. In fact, the data demonstrates this country could not survive, let alone grow, without the contribution of our immigrant labor force. Yet for far too long, immigrants have been among the most vulnerable workers in the country, whether they have legal status or not. And UU communities, I know, understand these issues. So I'd like to offer here today also a hopeful reminder of what else we know, but in the despondency of facing these constant challenges to workers' rights that we often forget, we have to remember to do our work. And that is the successes and the trajectory of the labor rights movement. In spite of it being languid and frustrating and often painful, the labor rights movement has moved in the right direction over the generations of our country's history. It has. Child labor is outlawed. There is recourse in the workplace for abuses. Anti-discrimination laws, some are in place. Working conditions are monitored and regularly improved. The minimum wage is not nearly high enough, but that it exists at all is a victory. Length of work days and work weeks are regulated. We have so far to go. We have quite a ways to go. And all of this is being challenged. We know that. But the fact that we have overcome so many obstacles to get to where we are compared to where we were is motivation that more successes against today's great obstacles can be achieved. These successes are also reason to celebrate the countless workers who, on their own and through union organizing, risked their livelihood and very lives for these previously inconceivable but essential challenges. History shows what is possible. Even though the powerful and the wealthy want to manipulate people into working under unfair conditions by sowing fear they'll lose their livelihoods, and that's a real fear. But people still fight for what is right. As Scooby taught us in every episode, you remove the mask of the monster, and we are all human underneath. Nobody better than any other person. By recognizing our collective humanity and the value of the support we provide each other, the fight can be won for the dream of a truly equitable society. Circling once again back to Scooby at Batman's party, The cartoons themselves, I found when I was thinking about it, provide like a kind of theological lesson in equality and interdependence as well. Batman is lauded for his great ability to fight crime. However, I think many of us would do a pretty fair job if we too had endless resources to bulletproof suits and jetpacks and utility belts with weapons and indestructible, heavily armed cars and planes. Not to mention, you take away all these things from Batman, remove the support of the workers who built the Batmobile, or made his clothes, or laid the brick for his mansion, the miners who dug the Batcave, the people that cleaned his home, made his food, and filled his gas tank, although I think Alfred did most of those things. You take that away, all of that away from Batman, and you have just a naked guy who talks with a really deep, quiet voice. That's pretty much all there is left. And he's pretty smart. Even Batman could not succeed without the support of others. As far as Scoob, nobody paid attention to his warnings of danger, and everyone relegated him to being useless. And even though he always helped save the day. How many workers could be tapped for their knowledge and expertise that are ignored or underestimated in favor of the supposed better judgment of C-level executives, for instance? Frederick Douglass, again, who I quoted earlier, in his speech, Self-Made Man, he also wrote, "To do something well does not necessarily imply the ability to do everything else equally well. If you can do in one direction that which I cannot do, I may in another direction be able to do that which you cannot do. Thus, the balance of power is kept comparatively even, and a self-acting brotherhood and interdependence is maintained." As we celebrate this Labor Day tomorrow, let us remember that more than profit and more than skill, what must be considered in valuing labor is love-centered interdependence and equity, that every laborer deserves just treatment and fair compensation for their labor. And with that, I'd like to start a new practice. I'm going to offer a resource for supporting causes I talk about in my sermons. We have an organization in Southern California called CLUE, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. And they educate, and they organize, and they mobilize faith leaders and community members to accompany workers in their struggle for good jobs and dignity and justice. So if you want to get involved with them, just go to cluejustice.org. They're always working hard. Let us continue worshiping together today and go forth from here, calling up the sacred and the spiritual as we consider how do we create a society that respects and that supports workers' rights and dignity. Okay.
Now is the time to receive our morning offering. May it be offered in the spirit of joyful beginnings. It will be received with gratitude and appreciation.
Thank you so much. So glad Severn's back and the choir's back. They sound amazing, yes. And now, please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 168, One More Step.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
In closing, let us remember that this church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all of our differences and beneath all of our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts, now and forever. So be it. Amen, shalom, salam, namaste, and blessed be. And now our service truly begins.
The choir is going to do one more song.
Oh, yes, thank you. Please stay for the postlude if you would. I'll remember.